welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business and entrepreneurship. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I'm joined by Rick Martin, who's the owner and founder of Martin IP Law Group, which is based in Evansville, Indiana, but serves clients throughout the United States. Before I get too deep in his bio, which is very impressive, 25 plus years of supporting entrepreneurs and business owners. Rick, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Shalom. Good to be here.
Great to have you. So I love to get to know the person behind the microphone. Your sort of underlying philosophy, your slogan, if you will, is protecting ideas, inventions, and identities. So how did you get to that point? Tell us your story.
I guess the tagline, if you will, ideas, inventions, and identities refer generally to the three of the four pillars of intellectual property law: patents, trademarks, and copyright. So that's mostly what we focus on. I sort of got into this area, I wouldn't say by chance, but I had finished up my engineering degree at Purdue University and decided probably going into my senior year of college that I wanted to move on to law school, and also decided that I was really ready to hit the ground running and didn't want to be a full-time student anymore. So I looked for opportunities to do other things, and saw that the patent office was interviewing on campus, interviewed with them, ultimately ended up taking a job as a patent examiner with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office out of engineering school, and did law school at Catholic University in D.C. at night. So that's kind of how I got started in that. Focused most of my efforts and classes during law school on intellectual property, patents, trademark, copyrights, and trade secrets. And then, once I graduated law school, the firm that I was working, I switched probably my third year of law school and worked for a Texas-based firm that moved me to Houston after I graduated. So I spent about 5 years in Texas working for some big firms, handling all types of IP matters, litigation, and prosecution both. After about 5 years of doing that, really decided, again, the entrepreneur in me didn't like working for somebody else, didn't like that aspect of it. So after 5 years of kind of learning the ropes there, decided to move back to Indiana where I grew up and open my own practice. And so that's where we are today.
That's awesome. It's a great story, and you've certainly been on a journey. So for those that don't understand intellectual property and an IP portfolio, which is something that I know you talk quite a bit about. So tell us the fundamentals, the basics of what our listeners, our entrepreneurs that might be creative, but they don't even know what they need to protect. Tell us the fundamentals.
Right. Well, so the fundamentals, and again, I think I mentioned earlier, the four pillars of intellectual property law are patents, trademarks, copyright, and trade secrets. So I'll start with trademarks because that's really the one that, even if you're not a tech-based company, I think every startup company, every business needs to understand and protect trademarks. Trademarks are basically your brands or your branding. So that's going to, be your company's name, names of any products or services that you may offer to your customers or clients. That's what trademark protects. And, it's important, I think, from a trademark perspective to identify those early on and to make sure that you are not stepping on someone else's toes or infringing someone else's trademark rights when you start up your business. And then, the other aspect is then to also file for and register your brands as trademarks so that you reserve those rights as your business grows. Then probably the next pillar I'll talk about is patents, and that's, again, that addresses inventions and things of that nature. So more tech-based companies, again, a patent provides you a limited monopoly for a 20-year period of time on inventions. So if you're able to secure a patent, it has to be useful, it has to be novel, and it has to be non-obvious. If it meets those requirements, you can patent your invention and secure that 20-year monopoly. Copyrights protect what I would call creative work. So software for one, books, art, sculpture, music, all of those things, and it's the expression of an idea that copyright law protects, not necessarily the idea itself. So, those are all protected by copyrights. Sometimes, like with logos, for example, there's some overlap there. Oftentimes, if you have a logo that's a graphic design, the graphic design of that's going to be protected by copyright. The branding of that associates that logo with your business is going to be protected by trademark law. The final pillar, trade secret law. Trade secret essentially protects things that are proprietary, that are not easily discovered, and you want to keep secret. And that's not necessarily done by filing with any office like the Copyright Office, Patent Office, Trademark Office, like with the other three, but it's done by contract and agreement. Probably the most well-recognized or well-known trade secret is the Coca-Cola formula. That's something that they've managed to keep secret for hundreds of years, and still to this day it exists.
And that's an example of a pretty large trade secret out there. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how this relates to your small business and how you can take steps to protect those intellectual property. Again, we are chatting with Rick Martin, the owner and founder of Martin IP Law Group. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. Hey, welcome back. We are chatting with Rick Martin, the owner and founder of Martin IP Law Group, based in Evansville, Indiana, but serves clients throughout the United States. Just prior to the break, we were chatting about trade secrets, and Rick is quite the subject matter expert with experience, again, working as a patent examiner at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So we were chatting about trade secrets, and you even mentioned about Coca-Cola, but we know that many of our small business owners that are tuning in, they have their own areas that they should be protecting via patent, trademark, copyright, trade secret, as you just said, all of the different forms of protection. So let's talk about some of the examples that you work with. Please don't share any of the specific examples, but the ideas of who reaches out to the Martin IP Law Group and how do you work with them?
Good question there. Yeah. So in the area of trade secrets, I would say with regard to small businesses, and again, some of them may have formulas like Coca-Cola, but that's not the normal situation. Probably the one that I see most often in the trade secret realm is customer lists, and that's proprietary information, and that's something that is valuable trade secret information of a company. And it usually comes up in the context of, employees or, now former employees leaving your company and going either to work for someone else or on their own. And they take that customer list and start calling your customers. So and again, it needs to be documented properly and handled properly. But if the customer list is maintained appropriately as a trade secret, then that can be a claim against that former employee for trade secret misappropriation.
Very, very interesting. That's great. So again, our small business owners are likely overwhelmed with the information that we've just been sharing. We provided those examples over here. So in terms of, again, IP attorneys, is it something that even just having a conversation to explore, is there any good sort of baby steps that our listeners should be taking this week to explore the protection of their intellectual property?
Well, yeah, it's always a good idea to reach out and talk to an IP attorney or a specialist, someone with knowledge in the area there. I guess the first step is probably identifying the intellectual property. A lot of people, probably a lot of small businesses, entrepreneurs, have IP that they don't even recognize or know about. So the first step would probably be to reach out to an IP attorney or someone with knowledge or experience in identifying IP and figure out what you have first. And then the second step is then obviously, how do we protect it?
That's great advice. Again, Rick Martin, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Again, we mentioned you're in Evansville. You're serving clients throughout the United States. So on that very important note, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, probably the best way to get a hold of us would be our website. It's www.ipsolutionslaw.com, or directly to me. I'm just rick@ipsolutionslaw.com via email. Those are probably the best ways to find us and to get hooked up. There's a lot of free information and helpful information on our website that might at least give you a little bit of background and information and understanding on IP, and then how to set up an appointment with us or reach out for further information.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with our listeners. I do hope everybody will get a hold of you and your team, and again explore the baby steps, as we said in that conversation, and that's how businesses grow. But we haven't talked about the horror stories. Maybe we'll leave that for another conversation. Business is a knife fight at times, but we'll leave that again. Rick Martin, thank you so much for joining us. And again, all of our conversations, our podcasts, be sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share. It makes it easier for listeners to find the show. All about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get on my website, shalomklein.com. To success, let's get down to business. We'll talk to you next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer.